Hello, my name is John Slattery. I'm a bioregional herbalist living in Tucson, Arizona, and today I'm at Mission Gardens. At Mission Gardens, they're growing organic herbs, some of them naturalized, some of them native, some of them from Europe, and I'm here as an owner of a local herbal products company, Desert Tortoise Botanicals, because these beautiful herbs are being added to our products. We use them in teas, as tinctures, and also as salves. These are Calendula Officinalis. These were brought over by the Europeans over the last several centuries, and it is a very commonly used herb in Western herbalism, grown throughout North America and grown in Europe. And I'm really happy to be able to have access to locally grown organic calendula that isn't shipped from elsewhere across the seas and so forth, and is really excellent quality. So just a bit about calendula as an herb. It is an excellent healing agent for the skin, as well as the mucosa. So the mucosa is part of the gut lining, so we can drink this tea as a means of healing the gut. In fact, it's one of the key ingredients in our gut healing tea at Desert Tortoise Botanicals. It's also made into lotions and oils and salves, also for the purpose of healing the skin. So calendula is a wonderful herb, has many uses. I'm going to move on to another important herb here that many people might not realize or think of it as an herb, but it produces a very common food, the olive. But these are the leaves of the olive tree. You might see a little bit of flowers in here. It was just flowering recently to start off the spring. Olive leaf is an excellent antiviral, and so it's something that can be extracted both in tea or as a tincture made with both alcohol and water to extract the antiviral compounds from the leaf. So this is something that many people can make at home. There's another little herb that I found here growing underneath the California poppy, and this plant, maybe you can see it well against my shirt, the outline. It's commonly called Storks bill or Fillory, and many people might have this growing in their yard. When the leaves are really young, they're edible, somewhat tender when they're young, and then as it matures, it produces a purple flower that looks a lot like geranium in the same family. And a tea of this is what we add as many ingredients to our Sonoran spring tea, because of its ability to promote liver function and gallbladder function, the release of bile, which is a very important function during the springtime. And so Fillory can be used both internally and topically for skin infections, indigestion, and several other things related to liver health. So just wanted to point that out. And as I stated, that was growing right underneath California poppy. California poppy or Mexican gold poppy. We have different types that you can find out in the desert, growing wild as well as cultivated. You can see this one's over my knee height. Exceptionally tall and large plant because it's irrigated. You can grow California poppy in your garden as an irrigated plant, either in the shade or in the open sun. And you can also scatter seed of it and just allow for the rainwater that accumulates each fall into the winter to germinate and spread the seed around your yard. It can be a beautiful xeriscape landscaping flower for the winter time. There's a couple other plants that we can take a look at just down the way. So along the path here, there's another plant that I wanted to point out. Most people would overlook it because it's not what they planted and it just seems like a weed. And in fact it is, but what's important about this weed is that it's highly medicinal. So you can see, perhaps if the lighting is correct, some of the hairs along the stem, and then there's some teeth along the edge of the leaf. This, if you were to rub it and smell it, it smells a lot like camphor. So one of the common names of this is camphor weed, also known as Arnica in folk medicine in Sonora, or often called Mexican Arnica, Arnica mexicana. It's a wonderful herb for as a topical remedy, both as a wash, as a poultice, as a tea, even as a tincture and salve to apply to injuries, arthritis, bruises, sprains, and strains. Because we don't have Arnica naturally occurring in the Southwest, this can be a wonderful replacement, and this herb is broadly abundant. It grows on roadsides and in gardens and lots and what have you. So very important to know this plant, Arnica. If we take a couple steps over this way, there's another important plant that is ubiquitous, not just in the desert, but also moving up into high elevations. Madhava, or mallow, common mallow, which usually sprouts sometime in the late autumn, early winter. And mallow is a close relative of marshmallow. If you're from the east and you're familiar with marshmallow or even hollyhock, they're both all in the same family, have similar shaped leaves. What's important about mallows in general, including the other plants that I just mentioned, is that they're all demulcent. So they're soothing to the mucous membranes. Right now, anyone suffering from influenza-like illnesses throughout the winter time and have red, irritated, scratchy throat and cough and so forth, a tea of any of the Malvaceae plants, including mallow and hollyhock or marshmallow, are very soothing to the mucosa of the throat and down into the upper respiratory system. The entire plant of malva can be used for that purpose, leaves, stems, and root. So before you toss it out, once you pull it from your garden, dry it in the shade, and then you can make it into a tea later. One more plant that I'd like to show you. So this one was most definitely intentionally planted, and usually for the purpose of consuming its fruit. This is pomegranate or granada, a very important plant throughout the Mediterranean region for millennia. But what most people don't know is both the flowers, leaves and stems, the fruit juice, and the fruit rind are all medicinal. There's many different important properties of the pomegranate, one of which is that it is antiviral. It can be an excellent antimicrobial as well, both the juice of the plant, the juice of the fruit, and the tea of the rind, which you can dry after the fruit had been removed from the rind. Studies about the leaves and stems, as well as the fruit rind and fruit juice, have shown anti-diabetic properties, as well as hepatoprotective, protecting the liver. These metabolic disorders are causing comorbid factors involved with the current COVID-19 infections, causing more lethality in cases where otherwise might be able to thwart the disease quite easily. So really important, if you have pomegranate in your yard, you can your spring trimmings of the buds and the leaves and the stems, and then later the fruit rinds, you could dry them in the shade and save them for use as tea later on. If you'd like more information about some of these plants that I mentioned, you can find in my blog posts and products at deserttortoisebotanicals.com, as well as on my website. You can find my books, Southwest Foraging and Southwest Medicinal Plants, available on johnjslattery.com. Thank you.